Jochebed was a smart lady who was virtuous and God-fearing. She is recognized as Shiphrah, one of the Hebrew midwives who rescued the newborn infant boys from Pharaoh. By virtue of her excellent actions, she gave birth to the three leaders of the Exodus generation, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Welcome to the Water of Worship channel, where we bring you a unique worship experience. On Mondays and Fridays, we bring you worship songs that are enhanced with the sound of water, perfect for starting and ending your week with a refreshing and uplifting vibe. Wednesdays are dedicated to Bible readings, where we explore different chapters and verses of the Bible while immersing ourselves in the sounds of nature. On Saturdays like this, we dive deep into the lives of little-known individuals in the Bible, telling their stories with a powerful voiceover and the calming sounds of water. And daily, we post YouTube shorts that highlight interesting and little-known biblical facts. I know you cannot wait to learn more and gain more knowledge about the Jochebed mentioned in the Bible. But before that, if you're yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, kindly do that now. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell to get notified that I drop interesting videos just like this one. Let's begin. The Midrash describes Jochebed as a smart lady who was upright and God-fearing. By virtue of her excellent actions, she gave birth to the three leaders of the Exodus generation, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. A series of miracles were accomplished for Jochebed in conjunction with the birth of Moses. She carried him at the age of 130, and God restored her youth and her beauty. Jochebed achieved longevity, surviving to see the positions of authority held by her offspring, and was even one of the Israelites who reached the land of Canaan. The conception and birth of Jochebed. In addition to her given name, the Torah additionally labels Jochebed as the daughter of Levi, Numbers 26 verses 59. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. The Midrash adds that she was conceived on the route to Egypt, and was born between the walls, at the entry to Egypt. Although the Torah claims that Jacob's family who migrated to Egypt numbered 70 people, the rabbis noticed that only 69 persons are recorded in Gen 46. One of the interpretations of this inconsistency is that Jochebed completed the number 70. She was not included in the list because she was still in her mother's womb, General Rabbah 94 verses 9. Her marriage to Amram. The issue of Jochebed's relationship with Amram comes from the remark in X 6 verses 20, Amram took to wife his father's sister Jochebed. Amram was the son of Kohath and the grandson of Levi, whereas Jochebed was the daughter of Levi, and so was his aunt. The Talmud examines this connection in the context of the incest laws in Leviticus 18 verses 12 to 14. Jochebed bore Amram 3 righteous kids. Each was a prophet, and each served Israel, provided them physical succor by merit of Moses. The Israelites were given the manna. By merit of Aaron, clouds of glory surrounded the Israelites and protected them during their journeying in the wilderness, and by merit of Miriam, the well accompanied them wherever they went. Accordingly, Pharaoh 14 verses 1, the wisest of women builds her house, is ascribed to Miriam, Midrash Proverbs 14 verses 1. The Midrash clearly interprets, builds her house, in a wide sense, since Jochebed's wisdom in the nurturing of her own children led to the construction and strong establishment of the whole nation of Israel. Shiphrah is Jochebed. The rabbis link Jochebed with Shiphrah, one of the 2 Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, who delivered the children of the Israelites under Egyptian enslavement. The Torah reports that the midwives did not follow Pharaoh's decree because they feared God, who rewarded them for their actions. He established households, Batim, for them, X 1 verses 21, which the rabbis view as priestly and Levitical families, or as royal households. Jochebed herself was from the tribe of Levi, and her two sons Aaron and Moses gained the high priesthood and the scepter of kingship. According to one midrashic perspective, Shiphrah and Puah were mother and daughter, Jochebed and Miriam, while another maintains that they were daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, Jochebed and Elisheba daughter of Amminadab. Jochebed was given the name Shiphrah because she would cleanse, Meshapirit, the infant, by washing it and cleansing it after delivery. Another etymological interpretation is that, by virtue of her acts, the Israelites were fertile, Shipar, and multiplied in her time, Sifri on Numbers, Para. 78. Yet another story indicates that she Shiphrah her activities before God, i.e., committed good things that were agreeable to the Lord. A further midrashic interpretation of her name is that she smoothed over, Shiphrah, her daughter Puah's comments. The latter had spoken impudently before Pharaoh, who wanted to slay her in his rage. Shiphrah placated him, saying, "Do you pay attention to such a one as her? She is a witless baby." Still, an alternative concept grounds the meaning of the term in Job 26 verses 13, "By his wind, the heavens were calmed," Shiphrah. The passage explains the skies that were created by God for Israel, and it was Shiphrah who restored Israel to their Father in heaven. Acts 1 verses 17 tells that, "The midwives, fearing God, let the boys live. Their recompense for fearing God, according to the Midrash, is Torah. Since Jochebed feared the Lord, she gave birth to Moses, through whom the Torah was delivered." Her divorce and remarriage to Amram. Exodus chapter 2 talks about the birth of Moses. Verses 1 opens with the marriage of Jochebed and Amram, and then the reader is immediately informed of Moses' birth, concealment, and rescue. This chronology omits a considerable period of time because Jochebed and Amram already had two other children, Aaron and Miriam, before Moses was born. The Torah evidently preferred to emphasize the birth of Israel's deliverer, and hence did not mention his two older brothers. The rabbis rectified this truncated chronology by arguing that Jochebed and Amram divorced, and Acts 2 verses 1 shows their remarriage. According to this story, Amram was the leading scholar of the generation. When he saw that Pharaoh had decided that all the lads be flung into the Nile, he proclaimed, "Are we laboring in vain? We give birth to boys who will ultimately be slaughtered," and so he divorced his wife. All of Israel observed this, and in consequence, they too divorced their spouses. Miriam, who was 6 years old at the time, said, "Father, Father, your decree is harsher than that of Pharaoh. Pharaoh merely declared against the men, but you have decreed against both the males and the females, because all the Israelites departed from their spouses, no sons nor daughters would come into the world. Pharaoh declared solely for this world, but you decreed both for this world and the next. A kid who was born and died as a consequence of Pharaoh's decision would earn the world to come, but an unborn child would not accomplish this. It is questionable if the decision of the evil Pharaoh would be realized, but you are righteous, and your decree will certainly be accomplished." Amram heeded his daughter, and returned to his wife, whom he remarried in a public celebration with all possible pomp and ceremony. He sat her in a palanquin, Aaron and Miriam danced before her, and the ministering angels proclaimed, P.S. 113 verses 9, "He sets the childless woman among her household as a happy mother of children." Jochebed, who had been uprooted from her home as a consequence of the order of Pharaoh, would now be placed joyfully among her family. All of Israel witnessed this, and they, too, wedded their wives. Amram married Jochebed for the sake of heaven. That same day God pledged that the ark and the Torah would be given to the arms of his descendants. The Kohathites are the only ones who carried the ark throughout the wandering in the desert, as is stated in Number 3 verses 31. In the rabbinic account, when Amram returned his wife, Jochebed was 130 years of age, yet indications of youth arose on her. Her body grew smoother, her wrinkles were smoothed out, and her former beauty was restored. She consequently was dubbed daughter, Bat, which also means young girl, of Levi, since she was once again a young girl. The conception and birth of Moses. In the rabbinic interpretation, Jochebed was already pregnant with Moses when Amram divorced her, and the infant in her womb was 3 months old when he remarried her. If so, then why does X 2 verses 1-2 indicate that he married a Levite woman? The woman conceived and bore a son, if she conceived before this second marriage. Rather, this text emphasizes that Jochebed's pregnancy was without anguish, just as she delivered birth without agony. The rabbis inferred from this that virtuous women are not subject to the decree pronounced on Eve, that is, the curse of, "In pain shall you bear children," Gen 3 verses 16, does not apply to them. The account of her pregnancy with Moses is amusingly integrated with an exegesis pertaining to the period of the rabbis. When Moses was born, Jochebed noticed, X 2 verses 2, how good he was. The rabbis inquire what Jochebed observed that was remarkable in her son, on account of which she wanted to preserve him from Pharaoh's death order. According to one interpretation, she saw that he was qualified to be a prophet. According to another, she observed that he was born circumcised, and according to a third exegetically proposal, she saw that the whole home was filled with light. In all three answers, Jochebed quickly realized that her kid was intended for greatness, and she sensed that he had special spiritual traits. According to another version, Jochebed named her son Tov or Tobiah, which was what his parents called him until Pharaoh's daughter renamed him Moses. Jochebed succeeds in hiding Moses for 3 months, X 2 verses 2. In the Midrashic interpretation, the Egyptians counted the months of her pregnancy only from her return to Amram. They did not know that she was already in the 3rd month, and therefore Moses could remain concealed in his parents' house until he had had time to grow and mature. After 3 months Jochebed was obliged to fulfill the edict of Pharaoh. The Midrash tells in detail how she prepared the ark for Moses. She picked bulrushes, a soft and flexible material that is capable of withstanding touch with both soft and hard items. She caulked it with bitumen and pitch, X 2 verses 3, filling the interior with bitumen, and covering it on the outside with pitch so that Moses would not smell the unpleasant stench given off by the latter. The term, "she placed it among the reeds," explains that Jochebed positioned the ark in a sheltered spot, where shrubs and reeds thrive. Another midrash has Jochebed creating a tiny canopy for Moses within the ark because she thought to herself, "Perhaps I shall not see him beneath his bridal canopy." This representation stresses the careful attention that Jochebed took to every element in the ark. She took leave of her baby with a sad heart and tried with all her power to safeguard him and guarantee that he stay alive. Miriam, the baby's older sister, followed the basket as it floated down the river until it came to rest among some reeds. She watched as the Pharaoh's daughter discovered the baby and took pity on him, realizing that he was a Hebrew child. Moses' wet nurse. In the Midrashic story, the daughter of Pharaoh observed that Moses was hungry when she brought him from the water. She carried him to all the Egyptian ladies, but Moses was not willing to nurse from any of them. Moses said, "The tongue that will converse with God will not nurse anything unclean, the milk of non-Jews." Consequently, Miriam arrived and presented to the daughter of Pharaoh her mother Jochebed, who was a Hebrew, X 2 verses 7. According to another midrash, Moses rejected the breasts of the Egyptian women because he said, "God will speak with me." The following day the Egyptian ladies would claim that I nursed the one who communicates with the Shekinah, the divine presence, Acts 1 verses 25. The rabbis argue that when the daughter of Pharaoh begged of Jochebed, "Take this child and nurse it for me," Exodus 2 verse 9, she unknowingly prophesied. The term Haliki veiled the truth. Shaliki who, he is yours. Pharaoh's daughter promised Jochebed, "Ibid, I will pay your wages," from which the rabbis learned of Jochebed's righteousness. Like the righteous, she deserved the recovery of what she had lost, her son, and in addition gained recompense for it, for having nursed him. Acts 1 verses 25. Jochebed nursed Moses for 24 months, Acts 1 verses 26. God restored her kid to her, thereby awarding her a portion of her prize for preserving alive the Hebrew boys, Acts 1 verses 25. Part of her reward was an extremely long life, living to witness the positions of leadership held by her children, and she was even one of the Israelites who entered the land of Canaan. Thank you for listening and staying until the end of this video. Don't forget to like and leave us a comment if you enjoy this content, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel for a unique worship experience, where you can find peace, inspiration, and spiritual growth. And you can look forward to our daily YouTube shorts that highlight interesting and little-known biblical facts. Join us every day for a quick dose of knowledge and inspiration. Once again, welcome to the Water of Worship, where we bring you closer to God through the beauty of nature.